Hello everyone and welcome to The Build Show. I'm John Peitzman, JP, certified high performance coach and creator of the Build Framework. I help individuals all over the world thrive in their personal and professional lives. And as the host of this show, our aim is to transform lives one guest at a time. And we do that by having amazing guests. And today is no different. We have with us Brett Murray. Brett is an author, he's a producer, he's an activist. He is the CEO of the world's most effective bullying education and prevention charity, Safe Heart Foundation. Brett authors books that are distributed internationally, and he has written and produced television series and documentaries for Australian Television Network. And as if all of that is not enough, he is also, and this is huge, a 5-time nominee for Australian of the Year. It's truly an honor to have him with us here today. Brett, welcome to the Build Show.
JP, thank you for having me.
5-time nominee.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, haven't got the gong yet.
Yeah, but we're going to bring it home, right?
Absolutely.
So that must be a huge honor.
It is, it's huge. It's Australia's highest honour, and to be nominated once was amazing, but to have 5 nominations in the last 11 years is pretty special.
Yeah, that is amazing. So what are you excited about right now as we sit here?
Oh, wow. Well, what isn't there to be excited about? I mean, COVID has sort of been one of those things where it's thrown everyone into a bit of mayhem, but it's given us a new opportunity to really focus on where the direction of the charity is going, and that's really, we call it going upstream. You know, you mentioned that we're a bullying education and prevention charity, and we deal with domestic violence as well.
Yeah.
And all the research points to one common denominator, and that is the influence that men have, or the lack of influence that men are having. So positive male role modelling and fathers are lost in this modern society. We've got up to 3 generations of young people growing up without a positive male role model. Most kids who are victims of bullying or are bullies don't have a positive male role model or a father figure in their life.
Right,
and
so that's the causation mostly.
That's the causation,
right.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
We've gone upstream, and majority of perpetrators of domestic violence are male and men. So we've decided, well, let's, instead of putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, let's go upstream, go to ground zero and help men be better men. And so what we're doing now is we've really shifted our focus over the last 2 years to now work with men and help men be men of courage, character and conviction.
That's so important and so amazing. And if I may ask, how did you get into this stream of profession?
Oh, wow. Well, as a kid growing up in school, I was chronically bullied.
Really?
I wasn't 6'1" and almost 90 kilos that you see sitting before you now. I was the runt of the litter. I was the littlest kid in my year. I only went to year 10 in school, which is, I don't know what that is equivalent in American high school terminology, probably end of middle school.
Yep.
But didn't go into year 11 and 12 because I was chronically bullied, bashed every day. I was the kid who was just the punching bag for everyone. And I was a late developer. So when boys are hitting puberty at 15, 16, I wasn't. And so they're much stronger. They got the strength of a man, and I've got the strength of a boy. So I couldn't fight my way back. And it was just something that I just, it literally destroyed my education in that sense. I left school as soon as I could, got out of there. And
did you know then that you would do something in your life to help this very important issue, or did that come later?
I don't think so. It was, life is a journey. It's never a destination, as we know. And the journey just sort of, I made this decision that I'd been so badly treated by the guys, that I thought were my friends or my peer group, that when I left school and then I left home, I moved out of home at the age of 16. And I wanted a clean slate. I wanted to get away from my neighbourhood where everyone knew me. And so I moved to the south coast of New South Wales to a place called Wollongong, just south of Wollongong. And it was actually a place called Kiama. Beautiful place. And started all over again, really had a clean slate. And I just made a decision that I knew what it was like to be mistreated.
Right.
So I would never allow someone to be mistreated so I sort of had this mantra, if you like, that anyone who came into contact with Brett Murray had to walk away feeling valued through a positive experience. So I just wanted to be one of those, when you have a conversation with someone or you have an interaction with someone and you just walk away going, man, they're awesome. I'd love to catch up with them again.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that guy.
People remember how they feel, not what you said.
Exactly, yeah. So I just wanted to make people feel awesome because I knew what it was like to feel horrible. And so I wanted to be that guy that everyone liked. And just life's journey just sort of unfolded. I just found myself volunteering in a lot of youth work through surfing. Surfing was a passion and an escape.
Yeah.
So
are you still a surfer?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Very, very passionate. I was actually a sponsored surfer for about 20 years. So
awesome. Look at this.
That was
Australian of the Year, sponsored surfer.
I've been able to do a lot of things which you look back and go, oh wow, isn't that amazing? But I mean, I think what I love about what you're doing, JP, is it's the relationships you build along the way which matter the most. That's not the accolades.
Yeah.
So yeah, life's journey just, I started to win surfing competitions, and then a local youth leader sort of said to me, hey, my nickname's Chipper. So he was out in the water and he said, hey Chipper, the kids locally, they don't talk about you much at the party scene. I said, well, no, I want to become a world champ. I'm not going to go and get smashed.
I'm practicing, right?
And he goes, I speak at schools. Can you come in and just share that? And I said, why would I do that? And he goes, I'll buy you lunch. I went, oh, okay, I'm in. So
anything for a free lunch.
Yeah, anything for a free feed. And so I went and spoke to these year 11 and 12 kids, and I would have been in year 11. So these are kids that are older than me, bigger than me. And I walk in and they're just silent and they're hanging on every word I said. And I'm like, this is really cool.
Right. They're listening to me.
Yeah, normally people who would bash me are now listening to me.
And respecting you.
Because of my ability of surfing. They knew me as Chipper, the guy who worked in the local surfboard shop. I was a spray painter at the time. I moved out of home, got the job at the South Coast in a surfboard factory spraying and designing surfboards. And so that was like the dream job, and living on the coast. Yeah. And so now I'm the guy who's spraying some of the custom boards that these kids are ordering, plus I'm the guy who's beating them all in competitions. We should listen to him. And it was like, I'd never experienced anything like it before. So every opportunity I got to speak, can I do that again? Can I do that again? And this guy's like, yeah, I'll have you come and speak here. And I'll go to a different school. We go to a different school. And that just sort of became something I like to do. And I ended up volunteering in a lot of youth work and speaking for probably 14 years before I ever got paid to do it. Right. So I was just passionate, and I just found that young people. But
you got good at it then, so you could demand.
Yeah. And in that time, the recession hit in Australia in the early 90s. So my work with the surfboard industry dried up. I had to move back to Sydney where the work was. Right. I used my skills as a spray painter to become a vehicle painter. And so working in a panel shop or a body shop.
Vehicles that look like surfboards, right?
No,
not quite.
Yeah. Okay. No, and it was just an amazing journey. And this time around, it was like, oh, okay, so I've got to do education with this apprenticeship. I have to go to TAFE. Wow, if I really focus, I could do really well. Right. And so I became Apprentice of the Year in New South Wales in my first year, and then number 2 in New South Wales in my second year. And then I thought, no, I've got to be number 1. So I knuckled down and studied and did all my homework and all the practical, and I became Apprentice of the Year in my third year in theory and practical. So I was the best spray painting apprentice in the state. And so then, in my fourth year, my accolades weren't translating into pay rises at work. I'm like, hey, I'm this Apprentice of the Year.
Come on.
What's going on?
Show me the money.
Exactly. So I went and found another job closer to me. I was working in the city, but I'd moved to Western Sydney, so northwestern Sydney. So I'd decided I want to work closer to home. And so I found a job that was only 10 minutes drive away. And as a fourth year apprentice, you finish your 4 years and then you become a tradesman, you're a qualified tradesman. But as a fourth year, I was running a shop. Because of my accolades, they said, okay, well, you run the workshop. I had guys who had been spray painting for 20 years under me, and I've been doing it for 4 years. And so I learnt leadership really quickly. And then through that time frame, got married. I was still, 21, got married very young. And then a couple of years later, an opportunity opened up in 1999 for me to work at something that I never thought would be possible. It was a panel shop that actually helped disadvantaged youth. And I'm like, how does this work? This is unreal.
Perfect.
So I became a spray painting teacher.
Right.
And so the kids we worked with were kids who had a rap sheet as long as your arm. They were passionate about cars, but it was more like stealing them. Yeah. And so we would turn their passion into an apprenticeship.
Right.
And so I became a spray painting teacher there. The place was called Handbrake Turn, giving young people a hand, breaking their predicament, turning their life around.
Love it.
So I worked there from 99, worked my way up to become the manager. And in 2000, we were judged by the International Youth Foundation as the best working course of its kind in the world. And we had a 79.25% success rate of kids who would come in last chance. If they didn't turn their life around, they'd go to jail. And
Because that's huge. Just repeat that. What was the success rate?
79.25%.
That's
massive.
outstanding.
Yeah. Well, that's why
Nothing else has that, right?
Anything in the world that was similar had less than 30% success rate.
Right.
And it was just an amazing experience and seeing lives turn around. And I still now, all those years later, 20 years later, I have young people, well, they're men now, stopping me in the street saying, Brett, you train me at handbrake turn. I'm like, do I know you? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm married now and I've got my own business and thanks, mate, you saved my life. And I'm like, wow, like that's
huge. Nothing else is more important,
right?
You
can't put a dollar value on that. Yeah, so that was just amazing. And then from that, got invited to get into politics because I was on the TV a lot, and the federal member for Parramatta at the time where we were stationed, he said, you need to get into politics at a state level. So I thought, yeah, why not? Have a go.
That's right.
I had no idea what politics was about. And just had a go, didn't win, and thank goodness, because I'm not a politician.
You're a surfer.
I speak my mind.
Right.
And during that time, funnily enough, this whole thing about bullying was still there. I still was dealing with bullies, but I was dealing with something internally myself. So I actually got into boxing and became a state champion in boxing.
Of course you did.
As you do. And so, I've always sort of had that sort of mentality. Life's not a spectator sport. You just got to have a crack.
Right.
And so, just was able to overcome that inner fear inside of me of, do I have what it takes? Because my parents got divorced, separated when I was 9, divorced when I was 11, didn't see my dad until from the time I was 11 to the time I was 19. So I was one of those kids who didn't have a positive male role model.
Right.
I'm one of those guys. And I was a victim of bullying because I didn't have a dad who was instilling into me my sense of identity, which is what dads do.
Right. So on that, just interested, because when I hear that there's no positive role model, I'm thinking that the kind of framework is that provides an environment for then the children to become bullies. But what you're saying is also the other way, that when there's not a positive role model from a male standpoint, then you can also become a victim.
Yeah, it's an amazing...
so it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's an amazing common denominator we found with the research. Kids with positive male role models that are involved tend not to be victims of bullying because they have a self-confidence. They just have an air about them that they're not worried about stuff. They're not worried about what people think. They're not worried about trying to fit in because they know their identity. And they don't want to bully anyone either, because people who are confident are too focused on going after their dreams, goals and aspirations to worry about what everyone else is doing. And so that common denominator of the bullies and the victims usually having the same traits was quite amazing.
So by addressing that, you're addressing both sides.
Absolutely, yeah. So
and that's what Safe Heart Foundation
does. Yeah, that's what we do, is building safe people and safe places. And I mean, it's a bit of a throwback to the medieval days. You look at the Code of Chivalry, which is over 600 years old, that developed around the time of knights and maidens. Yeah. The only law in the Code of Chivalry that is repeated twice is respect women. People don't know this is 600 years old. They had it right back then.
Right.
Yet we have domestic violence and family abuse becoming rampant globally because men are behaving badly. They don't respect women. And so we need to change that. We really need to do that. And going back to that medieval analogy as well, whenever a village was under attack, where would the townspeople go? They'd go into the fortress, into the castle. And the knights, the Code of Chivalry, would be the protectors. And the men in a nuclear family, father, mother, children, really should be the protectors as well, the guardians.
Providing a safe place.
The fortress. And so, we want men to become fortresses for their families. And so they're not dictatorial, autocratic, horrible taskmasters. They're servant leaders that love their family and were willing to give up their lives for their family.
I love that. And I love the journey you've been on. And I want to go back through it now in the context of Build, right?
Yeah.
So as all of you know, hopefully, if you don't, I'll share it with you right now. Build is an acronym and stands for Build Relationships, Understand the Business, Implement Strategies, Lead and Inspire, and Deliver Excellence. And what I love about this show and the guests and the unique insights that come is we just walk through Build and we talk about what that means to you and what insights you want to share in those different categories with our listeners. So, and you've talked a lot about it, along what we did right now, but I think if we dive more specifically into B, to start with Build Relationships, what are some of the most important relationships that you've had in your life that has allowed you to become so successful?
I think second to none. I'm a guy of faith. So I developed a relationship with God.
Amen.
People are at different levels and different walks in their spirituality, and I think it's something that Western society neglect too much, is the spiritual side of life. We are spiritual beings, and you just look at the different types of spirituality that are out there. People are hungry, they're searching all over the world.
Absolutely.
Whether it's through different religions or even different experiences, there is a spiritual need in our life, and I believe I found that through a relationship with Jesus Christ. So, and I did a lot of research on it and made sure it wasn't a quack thing, and the proof is overwhelming. And so that was the paramount relationship I've developed. But then secondarily to that would be my wife, because we got married so young. I've never been the perfect husband. I've made many, many mistakes, but I've learnt that you're not an island unto yourself.
Yep.
And many times my marriage could have ended, but I learnt a key in that relationship was humility. And if I'm prepared to say, I'm sorry, I've stuffed up, instead of being defensive like most men do, and I've been there, done that, but my marriage could have ended many, many times, but it was almost like that, just shut up and own it.
It's like, what's more important, right?
Yeah.
The relationship or this particular issue?
Exactly.
Right, wrong, or indifferent, who cares
Exactly,
if at the end of it you lost the war because you won some stupid battle
Absolutely.
about whatever.
Yeah,
right?
and here I am now, over a quarter of a century, been married almost 27 years
Wow.
to the same gorgeous woman who I don't deserve. And we're more on fire now for each other than what we ever have been. And there's been some rocky times, there's been some heartache, I've made some major mistakes. And, you hear in society, once you get married, that's it, fun's over. It's like, no, what an adventure.
Just the beginning, right?
It's a life partner. And so, that would be the two key relationships I would say are paramount to my life.
Right.
Right off the beginning. Yeah.
Love it. Thanks for sharing. So let's move right into understand the business. So certainly you have amazing understanding of the business, but as it relates to, sharing with our listeners today, any key elements of understanding the business that you think are appropriate, what would that be from your journey?
For me, for our charity and for what we do, we've been in the space now, anti-bullying space and domestic violence for 17 years.
17 years.
So to understand, I think first and foremost, the issue bullying. People misunderstand what bullying is and what bullying is not.
Right.
And so we had to understand that, but then understand both the victim and the perpetrator. Because in this modern day society, we tend to be victim focused. Now let's stand up for those who don't have a voice, and that is needed. I'm not dismissing that.
But there's another side.
But there's another side. There's perpetrators. So why? And in business, we all know that the why is important. So why do people do what they do? Why is corporate bullying so rampant? I mean, the Federal Productivity Commission 2 years ago stated that in Australia, workplace bullying costs our entire economy over $36 billion in lost profit.
36 billion.
So you think of workplaces where people actually despise their co-workers because of the way they're being treated. The morale is low morale.
The environment, it just ruins everything.
Low morale, low turnover. And businesses are about usually bottom line. If you want high turnover, you want high productivity, you need to have high morale. So if people are being bullied at work at any level, they're not going to enjoy coming to work. They're not going to perform at their peak. So understanding what bullying does to people as well. And it's not just a schoolyard thing. It goes from the schoolroom to the boardroom. And so,
and what is it too? Because earlier you said it's important to understand what it is and what it isn't. So how would you, educate our audience so that they can understand what it really is?
Well, bullying is long-term, ongoing violence, threats of violence, or antagonization, where a person or a group of people are disempowered. There becomes a power imbalance. So the key words though are long-term, ongoing.
Right.
If it's one-off incidences of inappropriate behaviour, they're incidences that could be conflict.
It's still not good, but it's not good. By definition bullying.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It's not habitual. There's not a pattern. And a lot of people flip the script on this, particularly in the corporate sector, if they're into, say, performance-based management. Right. And if someone's not performing, so their senior manager comes in and says, hey, look, we're reviewing your contract. You're not performing well. I'm sorry, but I don't think we're going to rehire you once the contract comes to an end. Oh, stop picking on me. You're bullying me.
Right.
No, it's called accountability. We need to be adults. We need to grow up and take responsibility.
So people use that kind of as a shield to inappropriately shield themselves.
Absolutely. And this is where a lot of businesses fall over because they don't realise, particularly here in Australia, that the legislation changed in 2014 that if you employ more than 3 people and you haven't done specific acute anti-bullying training, you're at risk. Because a lot of people think, when we do our induction, that's, we don't put up with bullying, we don't put up with sexual harassment,
Right.
sign here.
We said it, yep, here you go.
That's not training. You haven't told anyone what bullying is. You haven't even told anyone what sexual harassment is. So when it actually happens and the victim says, well, we never had any training, so I'm just going to go for the jugular, the law is geared to protect the employee rather than the employer. But if the employer has provided acute training, which is what we provide, then you usually find there's no accusations and there's actually no complaints, because everyone knows, okay, we have this clear understanding of what this behaviour is and why it's not acceptable and what it does. I want my workplace to become the most awesome place on the planet to go to work, so bullying literally just dissipates.
Right.
So that's something that we love doing in the corporate sector.
And it's a great understanding for everyone to have. So hopefully you wrote that down. So
absolutely.
Let's move into implement strategies now.
Yes.
So in the category of implement strategies, I'm sure you've implemented obviously a lot of strategies in your lives.
Yeah.
What would you like to share with the audience today and the listeners about implementing strategies?
I think having a clear defined goal and a strategy towards that goal. We started off as I said, anti-bullying or bullying education and prevention, but then we realised bullying was broader than what we originally thought it was.
Right.
Domestic violence became the huge thing. The whole white ribbon campaign really made the global community stand up and go, oh wow, this isn't good. And so we had to develop strategies to go, okay, how do we then educate young people on that? And so we had to really start to work backwards. What's the end goal? We want to build healthy
relationships.
relationships.
Begin with the end in mind in a way.
Exactly.
So figure out what you want to do.
So what we did, and this is really my wife, I can't take credit for this, Teresa, my wife, she's the strategist.
Right.
I'm sort of like the face and the mouthpiece.
Right. You're the talent.
Yeah. But she is the genius behind what we did. And she said, look, if we want to stop men being brutal fathers or husbands or partners, get them while they're young. So we started to develop a program and implement the strategy to create a program that was palatable for high school students to teach them what a healthy, positive relationship looked like. Because they're getting all this brutality through the mainstream media.
Oh, right. And everything they watch.
Video
games.
So they're seeing what brutal, horrible, nasty relationships look like every single day. But very rarely are they seeing amazing relationships. Like the divorce rate in Australia is over 52%. And it has been that for quite a long time. So you look at 52% of marriages in Australia end up in divorce. And 80% of those that have children, the custody goes to the mother. So we're having kids growing up void of any positive male role modelling. They're not seeing what a really healthy, positive relationship looks like. Right. And they watch all of the soap operas on TV, if they still do that, or they've got all the YouTube shows, or all the streaming TV things that you can binge on now, and they're all about drama. It's not about unity.
Because that's what sells.
Drama sells. Right. But unity's boring in a TV sense or in an entertainment sense. But to live it, it's amazing.
Right.
And so we thought, well, the strategy was, how do we implement this strategy of teaching kids? Well, let's go to the end in mind. And what we did, we figured out what an unhealthy relationship was. So we flipped it. So what's the opposite? And so we started just sharing with kids, this is what a healthy relationship looks like. And it was all started with knowing your worth. If you know what you're worth, you'll know how to be treated. Right. And you won't allow yourself to be mistreated. And most kids grow up in domestically violent families these days, so they just think that's normal. That's just the norm. So implementing that strategy of we've got to educate them earlier was really, really important. And then from that, educate the schools as to why we're providing this service. And then it spun off into, okay, well then let's work with men. So we can't just sort of shut the gate, the horse is bolted. People can change. Your own life story shows that you can change, you can grow. There's always hope. Yeah. And so we then implemented the strategy. Well then, okay, we're talking with the kids, so let's go upstream again. Let's start talking to men and saying, okay, you may have been like this, you may have experienced this, but it doesn't have to stay the same. My dad was violent to my mum, but I've never been violent to my wife. Right. I drew the line. At some stage, I stopped blaming my past. Right. Drew the line and said, okay, well, that's a strategy in itself, in a personal sense.
Stop the cycle.
Stop the cycle.
Take accountability.
Yeah, and I think implementing strategy is about making decisions and sticking to them.
Yeah.
It's not about, I'd love to do that. Oh, what about this? Oh, squirrel. Yeah. It's
shiny toy syndrome. Huh?
yeah, exactly. It's more about, okay, having a clear defined goal and then making a decision to implement that strategy and then sticking to it. Having a bit of resilience and a bit of tenacity and saying, right, we're going to get this thing done. So I'd say that would be what I've learned.
And I love how it's comprehensive too. It's like you begin with the end in mind, but then you make it broader too, and the depth and really expands to include things that you might not even see in the first issue of your insight or the vision that you have. Because
and that's what life will unfold.
Right.
Things, and we don't know everything. We don't know what we don't know. But as you start to head towards that goal, it's like, oh wow! As you get closer to a destination, it's like, oh wow!
You go deeper and you get more impact then. No matter if it's domestic violence and bullying or whatever topic people might be embracing out there in their own professional journey. That's great. And that leads to leading and inspiring, of course. So obviously you lead and inspire in everything you do.
I try.
but what do you have to share with our listeners about leading and inspiring as you sit here today?
There's an American artist, singer, who I can't claim credit for this.
Are you going to sing a song for us?
No, I won't. But he has a line in a song that I heard when I was about 16. He said, "You can't lead where you won't go. You can't teach what you don't know." And I thought, that is so cool. It sounded cool. It just rolled off the tongue.
Yeah.
But I thought, that is so true in leadership. You can't lead where you won't go. You can't teach what you don't know. I mean, isn't it classic, the joke about physical education teachers, PE teachers, is those who can't do teach and those who can't teach do PE. So I didn't want to be one of those guys. And everything I've ever done, when we started running boot camps for bullies, we'd take them away and we would wake them up and teach them that discipline's not a dirty word. And one of the things I learned through boxing was the more disciplined you are, the more successul you'll be.
100%.
There's that saying, I think it was Muhammad Ali said, the more you sweat, the less you bleed. And, you have to live by example. And as a young person, when I started to realise back in that schoolroom situation as a 16-year-old, these people are listening to me. Why? Because I wasn't doing drugs and I was successful in their sphere and realm of influence. It might have been just local board riders comps or local.
But you were role modeling the way, and they wanted to attain that, so they listened.
Exactly. And in that, just personally, I wanted to be someone worth following. And you can't say I'm a leader, but no one's following you.
Right.
You're just a person with a badge or a title. And a badge or a title doesn't make you a leader. I believe it's a life example. If you live a life of example and show the way, people will understand that you know the way.
Right.
So,
I love that. There's a song in that. There you go. You can coin that one, right? Know the way,
show the way. Feel free to use it.
I'm going to use that.
So back to that. It's like you can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go. Right. So, that's my philosophy.
Love it. And finally, deliver excellence.
Yeah.
How do you deliver excellence in everything that you do? And what does excellence mean to you?
For me, it's the continual pursuit of becoming better. Every time I speak, I've spoken to well over 1 million people face to face in my career. But every time I take the stage, whether it's something like this or whether it's something a bit more broad spectrum, an audience of 5,000 people or, 100 kids in the classroom, I want my next presentation to be better than my last.
Right.
Always want to be better. If people say, we want to engage you to deliver this service, I want them to say, wow, I would have paid you double.
Right.
Because it's so good. I want to give bang for buck. I want people to feel valued through an experience with Brett Murray and with Safeheart to the point where they become your raving fan because you've over-delivered. And that's something I learned through my short political career, is you always under-promise, over-deliver.
Yes. Don't do the opposite.
No, because there's nothing worse. You go to a restaurant and you hear about, they've got the best steaks in the world. And people are, and they might even advertise, we've got the best steaks in the world. You'll, never have a better steak. And you go there and it's like, I cook better than this at home.
Right.
They've over-promised, under-delivered. And it's just, then you don't feel like you've had an excellent experience.
Because the expectation was here and they delivered here.
Yeah, but if you flip it and you say, oh, they're pretty good, their service isn't too bad, and you get there and they look after you like a king or a queen, and you feel like $1 million just by the way they place the cutlery in front of you, and then the atmosphere is unreal, the food is brilliant, you just go, oh, I wasn't expecting this, man, I'm coming back. That's excellence. And I think with everything we do, if you do what you're passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. That's an old saying.
Right.
But these truisms, these sayings that we all know throughout the business community and throughout life, they are sayings that are popular because there's truth to them.
Exactly.
And when we hold on to them, study them and implement them, that's how you can deliver. And I think a key point of delivering excellence is don't ever think that you've arrived. I'm the best. I'm unreal. I've been there.
Well, your growth stops, right?
Yeah, I had my own TV series back in 2006, and I thought that, my crap didn't stink. I thought I was unreal.
Right.
People are going to be knocking down my door to have me come and speak because I'm on TV. And after filming the show, and the production went for 12 months, and we'd finished production, I had an empty diary, and for 6 months had nothing, and spiraled into financial ruin because I didn't save my money. I wasn't diligent. I was believing my own press. I thought I was unreal. I've arrived. I'm the guy.
Right.
I've got my own TV series.
Guess what?
And your reality hits pretty hard. So always aspire to be better. Always learn. Always glean from others. And I think a key in that is stay humble.
Yes, love it. I could talk all day. We could. As we wrap up, are there any final words of wisdom or other thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
I think the biggest thing for anyone is just to believe in yourself. Believe in yourself and be yourself. The greatest advice I think I ever received was as a 16-year-old, newly out of home, and I had a kind of a mentor, and he just said, mate, my nickname was Chipper, so he said, Chipper, you just got to figure out who you are. And as a 16-year-old without a dad, I'm like, who am I?
Right.
And life is a journey, as I've said, but believe in yourself and who you are, because no one has your perspective on life. And another great saying is, don't try and be anyone else. They're already taken. Like if I tried to be you, I would fail miserably. And likewise, if you tried to be me, you would fail miserably, because you've got your skill sets that are unique to you, and I've got my skill sets that are unique to me. And we teach people, from the schoolroom to the boardroom, that you are unique. There's 3 characteristics that every human being has that are unique to them. That's their retinal scan, their DNA strand, and their fingerprint.
Right.
That makes them unique. And the word unique, when you look at it, means that you are beyond compare. You're beyond measure. Right. There's no amount of wealth could be put on you that could be, so that's what you're worth, because what can we compare you to? And so when we understand that each and every one of us are unique, we have a unique take on life, a unique story to tell, a unique view to share, then that helps us value ourselves and understand that we have something to offer this world.
Right, without that comparison of trying to be better than someone else, because in that judgment, it
exactly.
takes you down.
And when we live in that world, Instagram, what is it? It's a comparison with someone else.
How many likes, how many this, how many
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
finally, how can people get a hold of you? Your website?
Safeheart.tv. And we also have our old website, which is makebullyinghistory.org, O-R-G. But safeheart.tv is our new website. Look up Safe Heart Foundation on Facebook, or Brett Murray on Facebook.
Awesome.
And I'd love to hear from people.
All right. Thank you so much. It's been such a privilege and honor to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank all of you for joining us as well. For more great resources to help you become your best self, including free worksheets and downloads, make sure to check out thebuildframework.com. That's it for this episode. I'm JP. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.